Hello ladies, gentlemen, guitars, I'm Chains. Welcome to the Chains Project. Today's reading is Genesis chapter 17, verse 1 to 27, the sign of the covenant. Get comfortable, this is a long one. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and will make you exceedingly numerous. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, As for me, this is my covenant with you. You shall be the ancestor of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the ancestor of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your offspring after you throughout their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offsprings after you. And I will give to you and to all your offspring after you the land where you are now an alien, all the land of Canaan, for a perpetual holding, and I will be their God. God said to Abraham, As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep, between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskins, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you shall be circumcised when he is 8 days old, including the slave born in your house and the one bought with your money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. Both the slave born in your house and the one bought with money must be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. God said to Abraham, As for Sarah your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and moreover I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she shall give rise to nations, and kings of people shall come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said to himself, Can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarai, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to God, O that Ishmael might live in your sight. God said, No, but your wife Sarah shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you, and I will bless him and make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this season next year. And when he finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all the slaves born in his house or bought with his money, every male of the men of Abraham's house. And he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that very day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very day Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised. And all the men of his house, slaves born in the house, and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. So Abraham's 99 years old, going on a little stroll with his walking stick. And then God comes down, he's like, Hey Abraham, remember me? I'm the best God ever, the Almighty One. By the way, I want to talk to you about that whole thing that we talked about. Again, you remember the covenant, right? Yeah, we gotta talk about that again. And then Abraham falls down. And while Abraham is lying down, God blathers on about his grand scheme to give Abraham the land of Canaan and all that fun, fruity, awesome, cool stuff where he'll make lots of babies, and those babies will become kings. And he's going to give him all of the land of Canaan now, even more specifically that place. And then he's like, yeah, all you got to do is, just take care of that stuff. Oh, and then cut off a bit of your penis. No problem at all, right? And by that I mean not just you, I mean like everybody that else gets born, your kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids, etc., etc. Oh, and all of the slaves that you ever own, when you buy them, got to cut a little bit of their penis off. If they get born in your house, cut a little bit of the penis off. But like not when they just show up, because, getting cut on your birthday sucks. So wait like 8 days, and then, get slicing and dicing. Oh yeah, also Abraham, your name sucks, so I'm going to add a ha in there, so you'll be, a funnier guy, lightened up a little bit. So now your name's Abraham. Ha. Good name, right? Yes, and your wife, Sarai, it's a dumb name. We got to make her Sarah. Way cooler, right? And easier to pronounce. I love it. All she's got to do is be married to you. No cutting for her, because you don't want to cut girls. That's just mean. Only the guy. And she's going to make lots of babies. And you guys are going to have a baby between you two, because even though she's barren and whatnot, I'm God and magic, and you can have a kid from her, because I said so. Oh, and don't worry about Ishmael. He's going to be cool, too. I know he's not really like your kid. He's kind of an illegitimate thing. You had sex with a guy named Hagar for some reason and made a baby. Not sure how that worked out. Got to check my How Anatomy Works book. Ishmael's going to be awesome. All 12 of his kids are going to be princes, because he's a king. That's how you make princes. And when you and Sarah have a baby exactly 1 year from now, you're going to name him Isaac, because remember, I get to pick all of your kids' names. That's how this works. I'm God. So then Abraham gets up, and God goes away and does whatever God does in his spare time. And then he comes back to the house and is like, all right, everybody, round up. Stand in a line. Guys, walk forward. Girls, go away. We don't want you. Drop your drawers. We're cutting bits of your penis off. And everybody's like, that's cool. No problem. You're crazy anyways. This is pretty normal. And the slaves were like, ah, damn it, I hope we get a pay raise. First, I want to talk about how God decided to change Abraham and Sarai's names now, and there's a meaning behind this, of course. He changed Abram, which means exalted father in Hebrew, to Abraham, which means the father of a multitude, which means that Abraham is the starting point of a lot of people being born, which is what God keeps telling him he's going to do every time he seems to show up. Now, Sarai's name change is a little bit stranger in my opinion. Sarai itself means my princess, as in she's belonging to someone, but Sarah means either princess or lady, and that's kind of distinguishing Sarah as now an actual person instead of, just part of Abram, as if she was property before. Now she's a lady and a princess, and she's actually contributing things to the story and making a baby, hopefully, says God. Now, a main thing in this story is circumcision, which I'm not a fan of at all, and I made this video over here, that boxy thing. Click that, that'll take you to it, a much more in-depth that can be explained better in just a regular The Chains Project episode. Please go ahead and view it. It's going to be a little bit different than this, but should be fun, right? Who doesn't like talking about penises getting cut with sharp objects? And the moral of this story, I should probably stop saying that. I should probably say more of like the main point of this story, which the main point of the story is that in order for you to get anything in life, including something as amazing as owning an entire plot of land and being the great father of nations and powerful people, you gotta make some kind of a sacrifice. You don't just get things for free. There's the old saying, you never get a free lunch, which, people are like, we get free lunches all the time, we steal them. So in this story, there's a very dramatic sacrifice that needs to be made, one that I personally would never make, because I'd be like, I don't really care, I like my penis. I'm not going to cut it for a bunch of land and a whole bunch of offspring. I'll pass on that. Thanks anyways, though, God. With Abraham actually going through and doing exactly what God says, he's showing his part of the covenant where he's like, yes, God, I totally believe you, and I want, awesome like that, and we can work together. Because a covenant is a two-way street, not just a one-way, because if it was, that would be a gift, not a covenant. So remember, be expecting to make some kind of a sacrifice. It might not be as great as snipping bits of your human anatomy off, but it might be lesser things like spending time with people because you owe them, because they're awesome, and they want to tell you cool stories about World War II. It's the best World War. There's Nazis in it. Why would you not want to listen to stories about World War II? Or maybe helping them move furniture to their new house. You might get even rewarded with some beer and pizza. It's pretty good odds in my opinion. Some sacrifices are good to be made, other ones kind of risky. It all depends. It's a very situational based thing, but do not be surprised when you have to make a sacrifice, is what the story is saying. That you don't get anything for free ever. You end up having to pay for everything. And that's it for this episode of The Chains Project. I hope you enjoyed it, even though we had a lack of penises getting cut. Then again, who enjoys penises getting cut? Please leave all your comments, questions, concerns, and combustibles in the... Wait, don't leave your combustibles down there. I'm warning you, people. Or send them to me in email, not the combustibles, please. I was working on an outro, but my dad caught me looking up stuff for the circumcision video, and there was a giant penis on the webpage, and I had to explain that to him, and now he thinks I'm weird.